Hey guys, welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. We got a little extra preview edition. We finally know who we're playing. I'm coming at this. Andrew is actually on out of town, so we're going to walk through this. Logan is joining me here with some good information, some good numbers, so that we can talk through the whole Kansas City Royals series coming up. We are going to be testing Andrew's theory very hard right now into the playoffs. Logan, we have all AL Central teams versus the New York Yankees, and if there was one thing, I need to set the record absolutely straight and make sure that I'm on the record for this. The AL Central being the teams that are there, the Kansas City Royals and the Detroit Tigers specifically. I'm talking about them more so than I am the Guardians, because I think the Guardians have more of an established, we kind of know what they are. Those two teams are very young and are playing with absolutely nothing to lose. And when you have youth and the fact that you have nothing to lose when you're entering the playoffs, playing the big bad wolf with the New York Yankees in the playoffs, to me that's a dangerous combination. And I know that's the AL Central, and a lot of respect has not been given to that division on this podcast. I have stated that the Tigers do scare me a little bit, but Andrew at this point is singing the praises of these guys, because they knocked out the two teams that on paper do have or had the best opportunity to beat the Yankees, with the Astros obviously, and then the Baltimore Orioles. But I am not taking these teams for granted at all, one bit, not even a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think you can, and it is made me throw up a little bit. I don't know if you saw the picture of AJ Hinch holding his fist up. In Houston. That's something, right?
Well,
but
it's funny that he's the one that knocked them out, and that was as the Tigers were getting hot, you saw that as a possibility. But yeah, AJ Hinch in Houston also. The irony there is pretty thick, with Justin Verlander, who obviously played for both teams, sitting there not on the roster. Yeah,
nuts. But yeah, you can't take either of these teams for granted. I mean, honestly, the Tigers even have less to lose than the Royals, because the Royals are at least have been building and have been all right, this team's going to be pretty good. The Tigers, you had no idea. I mean, they were 3 or 4 games under 500 in July. They had no business really being here, and then they just came and stormed through the Astros, who, since the first month of the season, have been playing like the Astros. They've not been any different. So I don't know. It's interesting. And I think that Cleveland series is going to be interesting, because the Tigers could hang, I think. I think they could hang with them.
They definitely can hang with them. There's no doubt about it. And when you're playing with, again, nothing to lose, and they put a lot of bat to ball, that's another thing that's super interesting with them is you have a team that doesn't strike out a lot. And I know that Kansas City is in this bucket as well. They don't strike out a ton. You've seen a lot of World Series champions come with this exact number. You've seen a lot of World Series champions have come and you see that they have a high on base. They are, they're pesky hitters. Obviously the long ball matters big time in the postseason because it swings games. And in many cases, the long ball will be the determining factor. But if you're not striking out, if you're putting bat to ball, if you're taking advantage of opportunities with runners in scoring position, you're going to win close games. And that's exactly what's happening in the playoffs. So those teams, the Detroit Tigers specifically, they remind me of what happened last year with the Diamondbacks. Just a young, hungry team that is, they don't know any better. They're just young and dumb and playing with absolutely nothing to lose. And that is a dangerous combination. It is a dangerous combination when you're entering into a 5-game series. And in this case, the Royals. Now the Royals do have a good amount of veterans sprinkled in with their young guys, but their young guys, specifically Bobby Witt, obviously everybody knows, the batting champion in the American League. Unfortunately, Judge could not overtake him in batting average, and Witt's the guy probably going to be second or third in MVP this year as well. So they're a formidable opponent, and I know that they didn't score a lot of runs against the Orioles. They scored 3 runs total, yeah, but they also didn't give up a lot of runs. And when you see where the Yankees have been in the past on some of these streaks where they struggle, specifically against left-handed pitching, but also against against pitchers that are, painting corners and just, limiting the big opportunity for the Yankees. They've had a tough time. So the Yankees are superior talent. No doubt they are the most talented team by far in the American League right now. By far. They were the most talented team in the American League before the other two teams were outed. But now, if you want an absolute perfect path to the World Series, and one that the Yankees should absolutely take advantage of, there's no doubt about it. They will be favored in every single game, probably for the rest of the American League playoffs. This is it. The two best teams got knocked out, and now you're looking at the AL Central versus the New York Yankees. And I don't know, man. We all know that the history with the Minnesota Twins, they're not here. You got new teams. The Yankees don't lose to AL Central teams in the past. They just, not in the recent history.
They lost to the Tigers more than they lost to the Royals this year.
That is true. And the Royals, if you look over the last 10 to 15 playoff appearances, they don't lose many playoff games either. At least they didn't when they were making those runs. Obviously, very different teams. But that fan base has seen a lot of success in the postseason when they get there. So. Yeah, just to kind of talk about the rest of the games. First of all, I think it's been fun. All of these games so far have been a good time, and I love the fact that it's just like jammed in a day. You just get baseball with a little bit of overlap, but they've been fun games. And that Houston Detroit series I thought was just electric. I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. I usually don't like watching the Astros in the postseason, but when the Tigers are giving them a fight, it was fun to watch, and it was just fun baseball, a lot of excitement.
Yeah, I mean, it was good baseball all around. I mean, the Orioles played two really clean games. I mean, Corbin Burns pitched into the ninth inning. The Royals are interesting because when you really dig deep about their last month or so, even going back further, I mean, they were 3 games under in September, 3 games under 500 in September. They scored 3 runs against the Orioles in the wild card. They rank pretty much dead last in every offensive category for the last month. And if you remember, they were reeling, especially really close to the end of the season. I mean, they were like falling out of it. I mean, they almost completely fell out of the playoffs. So they're an interesting case. I mean, obviously, what it's going to come down to, in my opinion, and tell me if you agree, is the same thing it's come down to every year that they're in the playoffs, and it's going to be, can the Yankees hit? Because for whatever reason, when they get here, that's the problem that they have. And with the way that the Royals are swinging the bats in the 7 games that the Yankees played against them this year, I mean, the Yankees pitching pretty much held them down, and they did well, and they hit the Royals pitching, and they faced these pitchers before. But in the playoffs, the Yankees have a history of not hitting. All of them. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be the key. Can they hit? And if they hit even just a little, I think they'll win.
That's the thing. It's not like you're looking at a Kansas City team that has this massive amount of firepower. They don't have a very strong overall offensive team. Obviously the two guys that, and this is just kind of breaking down like what the keys of the series really are. And the last time they played, they did a good job holding Bobby Witt down. Bobby Witt Jr. Sal Perez was a different story. Sal Perez was all over the place and had most of the production on the Royals side of it. There are some guys that are veteran guys, like Hunter Renfroe, Tommy Pham, who has, very good numbers against Garrett Cole. There are some veteran guys on this team that, have been there before. Adam Frazier's a guy that, I don't know. He's just looking at one of those pesky dudes, and he's not starting the games right now. He didn't during the wild card series, but he's one of these guys that can come in and pinch hit. And then I think one of the big X factors for the Royals is their first baseman Vinny Pescantino, and this is a guy that has had a really good year. He missed about a month at the end of the season. We didn't see him in the last time that they played each other. But finished the year with 19 home runs. He's driven in right around 100 runs on the season. And if he had stayed healthy, he probably would have been close to 30 home runs, right around there. But he's got real pop, and that's a guy that that can make you pay for pitching around the Bobby Witt and Sal Perez combo. And that's where the Yankees really do have to pay close attention, because the rest of that lineup should not hurt them. They just shouldn't. And they're not even a great base running team. They have some guys that will pinch run and have taken bases. And that's exactly what happened in the last time we played. There were Blanco, I think, is the guy who came in and pinch ran, stole second, stole third in quick order. And he did it quickly. So the Yankees really do need to make sure that doesn't hurt them. They need to make sure that these guys are off of the base path and then held at bay. Bobby Witt Jr. also, as we know, the guy has lightning speed. He's got power. He can hit for average. If he has a good series, there's going to be a lot of things that can go wrong, I think, for the Yankees. So I think obviously it's very clear and very obvious that he's the one that they have to hold down, which is not the easiest thing to do, but they have done it. And I expect them to pitch very carefully around Bobby Witt.
Yeah. No, they have to pitch around Bobby Witt, but also Salvador Perez.
Sal Perez just hits. Like he's the only guy left from the championship teams with the Royals. I think he's 47 years old at this point, but the guy still hits, still comes up in clutch situations. He's a baller. Like he's a damn good baseball player, and he still is. So yeah, he's gonna come up in big situations, and you need to be very careful with him, because nothing will get to him as far as pressure. He's a guy that knows how to hit in the postseason. So 100%.
Well, that comes down to that is Rodon's biggest worry, I would say, is he cannot let Salvador Perez beat him. I mean, he has beat him before. There's a lot of experience with him being on the White Sox for so long. So he's got Salvador Perez has great numbers against him, but he has been there, and he probably scares me the most when he comes up. It's like, it's scary because he's experienced. He is. He's an
Altuve type. He's an Altuve
exactly.
type who can put a ton of bat to ball, and again, will just exploit things that are available to be exploited. Like, he's that type of baseball player. If there's a hole anywhere on the infield, Sal Perez can hit it to that hole. He can hit the ball out of the park. He can do a lot of things with the bat. So he's a guy that you certainly have to be careful with, no doubt about it. And again, like the playoff experience to me matters. I know you're not going to see a lot of the nerds or anybody talking about statistics about, the clutch situations or the pressure of a moment. But when you go to Yankee Stadium and you're a Kansas City Royal, and, Royals haven't been in the playoffs in a little bit, and this is one of those teams that is, playing a bit above their weight class, I think, with how, what the expectations were. You got to look at those guys. Who are the guys that can play in a big moment, not let anything get to them? And Bobby Witt Jr. seems to be one of those guys. He doesn't look like a lot of things get to him by any means. In fact, I would put him in a category of a young guy that probably elevates during these big pressure situations. And then Sal Perez is that other guy. And frankly, the Pescantino is another guy who he had some hits. He hit in the wild card series, coming back obviously from injury just for this for the playoffs. He's a guy that can make you pay. And just watching some of the post-game interviews, like, these guys are ready. They're ready to go, no doubt about it. And they're coming in with a lot of fire, trying to take advantage of this opportunity. So they're building mantras. They got some sayings down in Kansas City about being where they are and not being done. So they're going to be a pesky team. Before we get to the rest of the stuff, we'll talk about some of the decisions in the roster. There's a bunch of that needs to get decided. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon, so obviously the final rosters have not been there. We have some projected pitching matchups, and we'll go through those with some of the numbers against the hitters. But in the National League also, before we hit that, the Mets are the only team standing, or the Mets and the Brewers are the only team that are still playing right now. And we're looking at the San Diego Padres, who are led by former Yankees, Kyle Higashioka, who has been just freaking electric. And when I looked at his numbers, and I was watching some of that game, and I was just curious to look at his numbers on the year. My God, does he have better numbers than Austin Wells on the season? It's crazy what he's done out there. So his power numbers have been there, almost 100 less at bats, and he's got more power production than Austin Wells. And obviously we know what he does as a catcher. He's a good guy to have back there. And then Michael King, who started the first game and was just dominant, absolutely dominant. What did he struck out 12 guys? I think seven innings, pretty much unscathed at that point. Just filthy. Good for him, man. Like I'm excited for those guys.
Yeah.
Obviously, Juan Soto was the reason why they're at San Diego, not on the Yankees anymore. So I'm rooting for them. Hopefully they do well, and we'll see. But
there's a ton of guys around the playoffs that have been former Yankees, but the Mets are trying to make it 12-12 on teams that win game 1 in the wild card series to win the series. So
that's true. It's been basically a done deal if you win the first.
Yeah, it's super interesting because, do they maybe later on go back to a 1-game wild card because of that? But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's I think if we see a different outcome in this one, it's going to give baseball some ammunition for sticking with the 3-game set. So, hey everyone, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows that unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait the weeks or even months between appointments to experience it? Introducing Manscaped's newest innovation, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver, the game-changing tool that brings the luxury of a professional shave right into your home. Whether you're after that daily silky smooth finish or you prefer to maintain a rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver is your go-to for precision and style every time. Head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code BRONX20 for 20% off and free shipping. Now, I don't know if I have told you this in the past, but I've used the Manscaped razor on the upstairs for a long time. Don't use it on the downstairs as much, but I've used it on the upstairs. So I'm very excited that the fact that they have a razor that is specifically for my face. And what is that? What makes it different? Well, the Chairman Pro, it's all about versatility and precision. It comes with 2 interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. You have the skin-safe 4-blade foil for that close, smooth shave when you're looking to be completely clean. And if you're not looking to be clean shaven, well, just switch over to the skin safe stubble trimmer to keep your stubble looking sharp and polished. And here's something that you're going to love as well that helps you in your routine. It makes it even easier. The Chairman Pro is waterproof. You can use it right in the shower. And the waterproof feature doesn't make shaving easier. That's not the only thing it does, but it allows you for a simplified cleanup. You just rinse everything down the drain and you're all set. Get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. Get 20% off and free shipping with code BRONX20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code BRONX20 at manscaped.com. Some of the best memories at a baseball game comes in the playoffs. And as you know, the Yankees are starting this Saturday and on Monday. You got games at Yankee Stadium. Best place to get tickets, Gametime. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. Now, if you guys are going to the game, obviously Saturday is game 1. We got Monday with game 2 with a off day in between. The best place for you to go if you don't already have tickets, check out Gametime and check out their app. It's very easy to use. Some of my favorite features on there, the all-in pricing is awesome because then you don't need to figure out how much is actually going to cost at the end of the price. It tells you right then and there. This feature shows you the total upfront cost. There's no surprise fees at checkout. You actually get to see the seat view. So if you haven't been there, if you're coming from out of town, you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. They have the lowest price guaranteed, or Gametime will credit you up to 110% of the difference. And this is a big one. Gametime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. Lots of shady dealings coming up with playoff tickets. So the fact that Gametime has a guarantee is huge. I've seen people get burned in the past from going other avenues. Definitely go to Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code BRONX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. apply. Again, create an account and redeem code BRONX for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's talk about the roster situation, what the Yankees, what we believe they might do, or where the decisions are lying for Aaron Boone and company, and then we have some pitching matchups that we're going to be attacking here. So let's hit that first. Actually, the decision on who is starting in these games. Obviously, for the Yankees, it was pretty much a no-brainer for games 1 and 2, exactly like we expected. Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon will be taking the ball in the first 2 games, where it lined up a little different for the Yankees with who they're going to face. Is a lot of people expected if the Royals would be there that Seth Lugo would be the guy going. Obviously, he just threw, so he would be on short rest. So Michael Wacha is going to be the game 1 starter against the Yankees. And so it'll be Garrett Cole versus Michael Wacha, and then game 2 will be Carlos Rodon versus Cole Ragans. These are, first of all, Michael Wacha has been a Yankee killer. You got some numbers on Wacha against the Yankees. Let's throw those out there first, just so we can talk about him.
So they didn't face him this year, but he's played with, he pitched against them with San Diego last year, went 7 innings, 2 runs. He was on the Rays for a while. His career numbers, he's got a 2.97 ERA in 57 innings pitched against the Yankees. That's 11 games. They get a little bit worse at Yankee Stadium in 7 games, 3.36 ERA. But he also, this season, is 13-8 with a 3.35 ERA. So he's a solid pitcher. He's a good pitcher.
He's a veteran guy who's been there in the playoffs
guy, exactly.
before too. I mean, it's not like you haven't seen this guy. This guy's pitching big playoff games in the past, won championships. Like, this guy has been there. So, you know, I don't think it's any easier. I think it's Seth Lugo has just been on one and has, had.
He was good against the Yankees this year.
He was very good against the Yankees. Yeah. I think he took a no-hitter going into the 5th or 6th inning, if I remember correctly. But the Michael Wacha is definitely no slouch. But I mean, if I'm looking at both of those guys, clearly I want to face Michael Wacha of the 2. There's no doubt I want to face Michael Wacha. And when you're looking at who's got some good numbers, this is where I think, some of these roster decisions can come into play and who's going to be starting. But Stanton, 235 average, a home run, couple RBIs against Wacha. Gleyber Torres has struggled mightily, 063 with 16 at-bats. Judge also struggled, 18 at-bats, 056. Has really not done much, 3 walks, 11 strikeouts. So that's an area of concern. And this is the area that makes it a little bit more, I think, apparent and obvious in what they're going to do with this game 1, at least game 1. Alex Verdugo, 11 at-bats, 273 average, 333 on base, 363 slugging, 694 OPS. Those aren't great numbers. 2 doubles, a walk, and a strikeout. Yeah, not a huge sample size. But at the same time, you're looking at numbers, and Dominguez doesn't have numbers against him. And if you're looking for Boone to find any type of excuse to have Alex Verdugo in there, which I believe he most likely is, this is the opportunity, or one of the opportunities, to get him involved in the game. And when you look at Alex Verdugo specifically, and you go to Seth Lugo, who very well might be pitching the 3rd game of the series, if it goes, well, it will go that far. And you're gonna look back at Alex Verdugo, and you're gonna say 7 at bats, 429 average, 429 on base, 571 slugging, and with a home run in there. So when we're talking about lanes, which that's what the Yankees love to do, and they love to pick their spots and identify where these guys can have some success. There's 2 guys, which are probably going to be 1 and 3, that Alex Verdugo has numbers against. So what do I fully expect? I fully expect Alex Verdugo to be in left field in game 1 and most likely in game 3.
And it's not even that simple, because when you continue and you look back on the last month of the season and how the Yankees feel about Jason Dominguez hitting from the right side, and game 2 is they're facing a lefty. So they were playing Verdugo against lefties in left field over Dominguez because they feel better about Verdugo left on left than they do about Dominguez from the right side. It doesn't mean that they're going to do that, but it is something that they have done, and that's interesting because that would be 3 straight games if we do go. So then you get into is Dominguez going to be on the roster? I'm sure he will be because they and this is
there's a sliver. There's a sliver of an opportunity where Jason Dominguez is not on this roster. It wouldn't shock the hell out of me because of all of the narratives and things that have been being said about that situation. But there's a sliver. There's a sliver that could be. It's the wrong decision. It should not happen 100%, and I don't think it will happen. But there's a sliver.
Now, the reason that I think that they're going to start Verdugo is this is what this smells Yankee. They're going to put Dominguez on the roster, but they like Dominguez off the bench. They like having that threat from the left side. They'll pinch hit for the first baseman, whoever it might be with Dominguez. They'll pinch hit for Volpe with Dominguez. And in the right matchup, maybe they would pinch hit for Verdugo, but probably not. And we, as we talk about more about the roster, especially the fact that they're probably going to carry an extra position player. They like this. They've done this. Brought Mike Ford off the bench in 2020 in Game 5 of the ALDS because they felt that he was a power threat off the bench. And if that's how they're going to feel about Dominguez, that's how they're going to feel that they could just drag and drop him in a big moment in the game. And they're going to value that more than Verdugo coming off the bench to do that.
I don't disagree with that, with him coming off the bench as far as that guy, but you're also then limiting the number of at-bats that Jason Dominguez gets. But again, the Yankees believe that there's not much of a difference there. And in fact, you could probably get them if you had to put a gun to their head and say, who's the guy that has better at-bats? I bet a lot of them would say Alex Verdugo. And, that a lot of that has to do with Dominguez not hitting since he's come up, which is unfortunate, to be honest. It's just unfortunate. But I think when the situation that you're talking about brings up an interesting situation with what they're going to do with the roster. So let's live in that world. Let's say that Verdugo I don't think he's going to play game 2. I think you got Verdugo 1 and Verdugo 3 because of the numbers against those two guys. And you go with Dominguez as a right-handed bat against the lefty. And I know what they've said, and I know that there's a comfort level, but you got to try something a little different. You can't have him out there
against
for
lefties. Wait, yes. What if Verdugo, who has good numbers off of Michael Walker, goes out there and puts up a 2 for 3?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, at that point, then all bets are off.
Right.
But when you're looking at the way that it can lay out, I mean, Dominguez, the lane, I think for him, again, to talk with in Yankee speak, is that second game. But what that does, if he's off the bench and he's coming in to hit at situations, you think it's going to be middle of the game, towards the end of the game. But, if you're thinking about it towards the end of the game, they're not going to want Dominguez to go out there and play defense. So in that case, you need to carry that extra bench spot. And that's where Trent Grisham, comes onto this roster and instead of putting in another pitcher and another bullpen guy who it would be either Marcus Stroman or Leiter, whoever's left off, Leiter Jr. I think Grisham is the guy that would be on this because they're going to need to solidify that defense if Dominguez does come in and play or hit for someone late in the game. They don't feel comfortable with him late in the game in the outfield. And it's hard to argue against that because he's shown that he's been vulnerable out there on very simple balls that need to be caught. So that's where I think that the decision's almost being made for them because of the lack of defense for Dominguez, and they're going to have to carry Trent Grisham because of that. And although we've seen terrible base running from Grisham at times where he's got some speed, but he's not the best base runner. But he's another guy that can go out there, play defense and run bases if need be.
Well, that's why we dropped in also, the chance, and this is also something that they've done. Instead of carrying a Trent Grisham, they go and they carry the guy that they picked up off of waivers earlier in the year, Duke Ellis, who's there to steal bases and play defense, right? Yeah. So he becomes a little, obviously this isn't somebody that you want hitting. Obviously he's not as good of a hitter as Grisham, who has come on a little bit, but maybe they do that. Maybe they say, well, this is an upgrade base running wise. This is an upgrade, or it's equal defensively, and we value that more going forward.
We'll see what happens. I think that the defense, though, with a known commodity in Grisham, is going to be the guy because of that. And you can't really roll the dice on the back end on who's going to be playing in the outfield, from the 7th inning on. At that point, you need the guy that damn well will go out there and field the ball at a high level. And to me, that's Trent Grisham. So the other decisions that we're looking at here, the roster. So the roster that we have here and projected lineup is Glaber, Soto, Judge, Wells, Stanton, Chisholm, Dominguez or Verdugo in left, first base. So, and it looks like right now Rizzo is not going to be able to play. I mean, there's nothing that says that he's going to play. I fully don't expect him to play.
He's going to try, but I don't think he's going
to. Yeah, there's just, I don't see it happening. And then Volpe at short. So the other decision that they have to make obviously is first base, and that will affect who you're keeping on the roster for a bench spot, what you could do as far as roster flexibility, with moving guys around and where they can play at different times in the game, because you only have a certain amount of people that can play first base. And what we saw with the Yankees practice that was all by themselves at Yankee Stadium the other day was that 3 guys were taking reps at first base. It was Ben Rice, it was Oswaldo Cabrera, and it was John Birdie. And I think Birdie's an interesting one. I want Birdie on this roster. I think he should be on this roster. He adds a lot of flexibility. And he's got a consistent bat. You look at his career, the guy's got a consistent bat. I trust him in a situation to either, if there's a base hit that's needed and off the bench and you just need a base hit, like a guy like Birdie would be a great guy. If you need to bunt someone over, Birdie's a good guy. If you need to, hit the ball in the infield to the right side to move a guy over, he's a guy that can do that. He's a guy that has a lot of back control. Someone that can also run the bases at a high level. So that's another guy that you can utilize for late in the game defense and stolen bases. Because when he was with the Marlins, he stole a lot of bags. The guy is fast, but also knows how to steal bases. So the decision will be who's starting the game at first base. And I have a feeling it's going to be Ben Rice.
I do too. And it's a little bit unfair because Oswaldo has had a great season, honestly. When he's been out there, he's been productive. I mean, he had one little cold spell after being red hot to start the year.
Yep.
But he's been really solid. He's a 260 hitter-ish with a mid 700s OPS, and every time he's in there, it seems like he hits lately. And there's no reason that he shouldn't be the one to start at first base. And you have to carry Ben Rice, but defensively, I mean, equal. I mean, Ben Rice is a catcher who's got a first base glove. It's not like he's a, Anthony Rizzo over there. So to me, it's like I'm taking the better bat. I'm taking the switch hitter in Oswaldo, and you carry Ben Rice as the backup. And if somebody moves, then you put Ben Rice in and you put Oswaldo where he needs to go. You got to put him at shortstop. You got to put him at, second, third base in the outfield, whatever. To me, Oswaldo should get the start. And I think he might. I think it's 50-50. But
I think it's 50-50 as well. I think they're going to lean Ben Rice because of the flexibility that Cabrera gives them off the bench. And I think that's a big piece. But you're right. Absolutely. They could do what you just said. They could as far as the defensive flexibility, they could move him around and bring in Rice at first base, and Cabrera could play pretty much anywhere on the diamond, besides the battery. He could go out there and play anywhere, but he's also the backup shortstop. Birdie can play short as well, but he's a guy that you would see out there as well. So I think that for that reason, they'll keep him as the flexible bench guy who can pretty much go anywhere. But John Birdie does give them the luxury to play him at first base, I think, because Birdie has a similar makeup in as far as the flexibility.
Absolutely. I hope they start Oswaldo. I think he deserves it. I mean, he's also played in the playoffs. He had that big home run in 2022 against the Guardians. Yeah, I mean, I think he just adds a lot of value every time he's in the lineup. I think he does something good. I trust him up there.
Yeah, I don't know how much they trust him defensively at first. That's the only thing. I
agree.
Ben Rice has a lot more reps at first base, and that would be why I think they would go there. But again, like you said, I would be fine with either one of these guys because I don't think there's much on the defensive side that either one of them has an advantage on. And with Cabrera's, he's just more of an exciting player too. He's got pop. He's got the ability to do things on the base path, and he brings a lot of energy. So I could see them going, and I'd be happy for him to be out there. I don't think it would be a problem.
Yeah, and don't underestimate how big of a deal it is that they don't have Rizzo though, because Rizzo's defense at first base has saved so many Jazz Chisholm throws into the ground.
Oh yeah,
and saves Glaber constantly. Obviously, he could pick it with anybody, so it's a big deal. I mean, I think if there's a chance that he can squeeze a glove and hold a bat, that he's on the roster. I really do. I don't see it happening, but his defense was, I mean, he was hitting eighth. It didn't matter if all he had to do was lean into a pitch here and there and maybe work a walk in a big spot. And you always trust Anthony Rizzo up there to put together a competent at bat. You know, he never would be, you know, the way DJ was at the beginning of this year, but it's a big blow without Rizzo. I really believe that.
And if Rizzo miraculously is able to move those hands, that hand with no issue, and he's able to hold a bat and do all the things without limitation, which I think is the biggest thing. Like they talked about it as a pain tolerance thing. And I think that, again, I said this in the last episode, that's an unfair way to go about it, putting it on him as far as a pain tolerance. If he can do all the things that he believes he can do to make him successful at the plate, with a bat, which I think is a really huge question mark, then he should play. If he's able to play, then obviously you play him. You know, his offensive numbers in September actually were improved. And yes, defensively, no doubt about it, he is by far the best defender, and he makes everybody else better. So would be surprised physically if he is up to it to play in this series. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Probably Saturday morning is when they announce that. So he's got 2 more days now to heal up and get ready.
Yeah, they Brian Cashman speaking with the media now, they just said that they're still debating on if there'll be 11 or 12 pitchers for the ALDS, which that is the difference. A 12-man pitching staff is a 5-man bench. Yep. So that would be a 5 or a 6-man bench.
Yeah, that's interesting.
More than even we're thinking here. So, you know, that kind of guarantees the fact that you're getting that Grisham type on the end of the bench, and maybe they even add.
That's where the Duke Ellis type could get in there. If they're,
they might carry both Grisham and Ellis, and say Stroman and Leiter. Right, out of here.
That's true. And you know, the fact that there's a day off between Saturday and the Monday game, obviously, which is a weird setup, but it allows them to carry less pitchers because of that day off. It allows them to be a little bit more flexible with what they can do on the position side. But that would surprise me. I would be surprised though if they didn't carry either Leiter or Stroman, or at least have that one extra pitcher.
I mean, maybe, but this is at one point. There's only one time in the series where you play on back-to-back days. So there's a day off in between every other game. They play 3 and 4 on back-to-back days, but other than that, they would be a day off. Brian Cashman also said that Anthony Rizzo is presenting well while going through treatment on his fractured fingers, but he has not done any baseball activities yet. They would still put him on the roster without any baseball activities if physically they felt he was able to do it. But
he said that?
Yeah, I don't know. No,
he said that, or you're saying that? No, I mean they're going to have to. They're going to have to test his baseball activities before the roster. Like they're not going to go out there and hope that on Saturday morning he's okay without holding a bat.
Well, they're going to say
even if he can play later in the series. So that would be a waste of an at bat, a waste of a roster spot if they did that.
It looks like it's going to be he's ramping up because if they move on, if they move on, I would say it's at a very high probability he's on the roster. But
yeah, again, I don't know what the situation is with like how fractured his fingers are, or where they got fractured, or you know how that affects his grip on the bat. To me, that's the biggest thing, is his grip on the bat, and what happens when he makes contact. You know, is his hand, you know, throbbing at that point, and the second at bat now is a real problem because of the vibration from the bat or something that went there. Because I mean that's got to be painful as all hell, and if it's painful as all hell in your hand, then it's going to affect how you swing the bat. So you can't really separate the two between pain tolerance and then actually being able to swing a bat at an effective level to help the team. And that's where they have to make a big decision. And hopefully Rizzo, I'm sure, is going to be honest with them in the sense of like, yeah, I can do this, or no, I cannot do this, or it's going to affect me in a negative way. But I think that the opportunity for another bench guy like a Duke Ellis is interesting. The fact that they have those days off though between the games, and the fact that you have like a guy like John Birdie or Grisham who can both run, I would almost rather have the pitcher, just in case that they need a particular situation for a particular guy. I don't think
extra
that
innings. That's
extra innings maybe. Well, yeah, but if the games go into extra innings and you're limiting your pitching staff by carrying a guy like Duke Ellis, like that's going to be a problem.
I'm shocked that they wouldn't, I thought 5-man bench. I mean, that's an extra position player compared to what they carry in the season. I thought that would be where they sit.
Yeah.
To go to a 6-man bench, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, they've done it, but I guess they figure, if these guys aren't going to be difference makers anyway, maybe we need an extra pinch runner, an extra defender late in a game that could help us win a game more than Stroman could, help us win a game in slop time or, save the bullpen or something.
Interesting thing about Stroman too, is you brought this up before we started recording, is that Stroman actually had decent numbers against Kansas City.
Yeah, he had two good he had one 5 2/3 shutout, and he had another that was like 5 2/3 3 runs. So he was, he was pretty solid.
Yeah, and I think that also speaks to the Kansas City team. Like this is a team where Marcus Stroman gives up a lot of contact, gives up a lot of base runners, but the Royals don't make you pay for doing that a lot of times. They don't have the big power that a lot of teams do. So the matchup on paper does seem like a Stroman could handle this team a little bit better than some. Now, if it's between him and Mark Leiter Jr. in that last spot, and you're looking at what that possibility is, I think that you have to consider the matchups. You have to consider that Stroman had success against this team, and every time Mark Leiter Jr. has come into this game, there has been something bad that's happened. Yes, he's striking guys out, but it seems like every outing or every other outing, the man is giving up a home run, and that will be the difference in a playoff game more times than not. So I don't want to see him with a ball in his hand in the playoffs. All right, what else we got in here? There's a couple other things that interesting pieces that we need to look at. Clark Schmidt. Clark Schmidt is the guy that we pegged to be that Nestor type role where he's going to come in and potentially pitch in out of the bullpen. And I think that Boone kind of said that with what's going to happen. If they need him, Clark Schmidt will be available for games 1 and game 2. Which means that Luis Gil would then start game 3. But if they do not need him in either one of those games, there's a very good possibility that Clark Schmidt would be the game 3 starter. So that leads to a couple things, right? There's obviously some trust with Clark Schmidt coming out of the bullpen, which I agree with. I think that's the right move. And Luis Gil is a starter. They see him as a starter. They do not see him as a relief pitcher, which I also agree with. I don't think that he's suited well for the bullpen at all with his command problems. And I would rather him just, focus on the things that he's done all year long. And hopefully he can come in with one of these really good outings that he's had in the past. And Clark Schmidt's got the ability to flex into different spots and help the team in games 1 and 2. And I think that there's a low probability that he does not pitch. I think that he will be in one of those 2 games. And if I'm choosing one of those games, I would choose game 2, because that would mean that Garrett Cole shoves in game 1 and goes deep into the game, which everybody who is watching these games and who's expecting what the game 1 start is going to look like, I think all of us are expecting Garrett Cole to shove in game 1. That's what he was brought here for. That's what he should do. That's what every Yankees fan really should expect. That those are the expectations. Garrett Cole comes out and dominates game 1 of the playoffs. That's why he's here. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. But it's interesting, the fact that they're leaving it kind of in limbo, that Schmidt could pitch game 3 rather than just saying, yeah, Luis Gil is going to be our game 3 starter.
Yep, exactly. You said it all great. I think that Gil's going to be the starter, and I think they're going to use Schmidt out of the bullpen if they need him even a little. I mean, if Cole and Rodon both go 7 shutout innings and, they really don't need him, then yeah, maybe he'll start game 3. But the probability of them treating these games like that to let them do that. They like Schmidt out of the bullpen. They've done it. I mean, Boone
And
tried
he's
to get
done
him to
it.
close
He's done it
game,
in the past too.
you know, in the last time they were in the playoffs. He tried to bail Holmes out of 2022, you know, in Cleveland. So they'll do it, and they're not scared to do it.
So looking at the Royals, just overall numbers, and I like to look at what have you done for me lately? What they've done in September. They're not a good offensive team. They're just not. Their total numbers, batting average 10th in baseball, home runs 20th in baseball, stolen bases 11th, K percentage, and this is the one that I think could be something to keep an eye on. They're third best in baseball. They don't strike out a lot, 19.4%. And if the Yankees are giving them opportunities, they're going to work the count, which again lends to the Yankees going to need the bullpen if they work the count and drive the pitch count up. I have a feeling that will be the game plan. The game plan will be see pitches, work the count as much as humanly possible, try to get Garrett Cole in a position where his pitch count is up and he's a little bit more vulnerable in certain spots. They're definitely going to do that against Rodon, and we've seen it work well against him. He tends to throw a lot of pitches, and I think they're going to work the count with him. And they don't strike out a lot. So that's one of those things that is I think doesn't play well for the Yankees and does play well for the Royals. So I have a feeling they're going to lean on exactly that. WRC plus 20th in the league. And then in September, really, there's not much different. They're in fact, they were worse. So 203 team average, which is 30th in baseball. Again, they don't hit for power. They're middle of the pack stolen bases. And their K percentage was actually was up about 5% in September. And I read a couple articles about that too. It seems like they are more susceptible to the off speed, good fastball hitting team. So it'll be interesting to see the repertoire that Rodon goes out there with. And then I think, you know, with Garrett Cole, you stick to what you're good at. You stick to the four seam and you just, you know, you play out your game plan and don't look at anything else. But yeah, strikeouts are going to be a big one. And then if you flip it to the other side, when you look at their pitching, this is where the Royals are extremely good. Their pitchers, their starting pitchers, 3.55 ERA team. That's second in baseball. The FIP, 3.68 FIP, fourth in baseball, ninth in baseball with strikeouts per 9, and then 11th with 2.73 walks per 9. So middle of the pack there, but not giving you a lot of extra base runners. And then their relievers also. The relievers actually, team-wise for the season, the numbers aren't all that great. But here's the difference: they got Lucas Ursig, who is a guy that I wanted so badly on this team, and he just absolutely looks dominant. Right, he looks dominant. Last two games when he came out and shut down the back end of the game for both the wild card games, he looked really good, and I expect him to be out there pitching a lot against the Yankees in high leverage spots. Obviously,
yeah, he you know, he shortens games. He's a good pitcher. He's a good closer. He should scare you. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be, you know, hopefully we don't have to see him. That's the
thing. If you take advantage of the early opportunities, then you don't have to see Lucas Ursig. Exactly. But I expect these games to be relatively tight. So that's going to wrap it. I'm excited, man. I think this is fun. I think that, I'm a little disappointed that the Astros didn't win so that the Yankees have an opportunity to avenge a loss. Going through Houston is something that I think it's almost a necessity. They need to do it. They need to exercise their demons. But that said, my God, is the path more clear right now. It's never been more in the Yankees' favor than it has been this year. If the Yankees don't make the World Series this year, I don't know when they would possibly make it, because this is the best opportunity that they've seen in a very long time. So hope everybody enjoys the games. Hopefully we're coming back. We'll be back after each game. Andrew and I will be talking about each game right afterwards. We'll give kind of an instant reaction after these games. Maybe we'll do them live. I'm not sure. We haven't decided that yet. But let's go. Saturday's coming. Enjoy it. We'll talk to you soon.